All right, it's another day of the Homeric Rhapsody thing. Again, what I'm doing here is not necessarily trying to recite what we know as the Iliad word for word, like an actor would do on stage. I'm also not necessarily trying to create an entirely new work, but I'm upholding the ancient tradition of oral poetry, which is to say, telling a story that is comprised of the various scenes that you remember, however you can remember them, and stitched together by whatever you can come up with to make it comprehensible, which is what Homer would have done and poets at that time would have done. And let's keep going with it. Here we go. And so, on the plains of Troy, the men were all in an uproar. The Achaeans and the Trojans, all of them, had no concept of where Paris had gone to, had no understanding of how this could have happened. But to all it was clear and agreed that Menelaus was the victor. And thus, despite a loss for Troy, it was a victory for all, as there would be peace, and the accursed woman Helen would finally be gone from the city. But up in high Olympus, above the clouds, above the mountains, Zeus sat on his golden throne, and he saw in the corner of his eye, as he watched the wide world below, he saw Athena and Hera, the two of them, who had so championed the Achaean cause. And, in his way, Zeus decided to goad the two women, one who had always served him, and one who had always thwarted him. It seems, Athena and Hera, Trito-born, ox-eyed lady of my right arm, it seems that the Achaeans and Trojans are to come to peace, that there shall be no more war. Once again, this is an agreeable outcome for myself, almost as if I had turned the tides. But I would not do such a thing, would I? Hera had spoken to him. This is no good outcome, Lightning Lord. You have done something here, as you always do, to outdo me, to shame me in front of all the other Olympians. I shall not allow this. We shall do something to cause this war to stir back up, no matter what you have planned for them. Not believing that Zeus had not had a hand in achieving this peace, not believing that Zeus would not try to thwart her, forgetting that Zeus had his agreement with Thetis. Hera told Athena, her daughter, to go down to earth and to influence in some way the Trojans so that they would be aggressors and cause the war to flame back up, thus allowing the Achaeans to eventually, in the ensuing conflict, take the city, though she knew not how. Thus Athena, like a comet, sparking and trailing smoke and dust and flames all the way down to earth, she flew. And all the Achaeans and the Trojans saw this amazing sight and were awed, not one of them believing that this had no portentous meaning imbued inside it. Though they knew not what, they knew some trouble was brewing. And yea, those who thought so were correct. All right, not so bad. I didn't have a lot of time for this one, so we only did the little section on Olympus where Zeus goads Athena and Hera. Not terrible. I got onto a little side thing where I was saying, like, you know, Hera had forgotten the promise that Zeus made to Thetis, as if him stopping the war would have honored her promise, which it didn't really make any sense, and I just kind of kept going after that. So that was kind of like a non sequitur that was also factually inaccurate. Not even factually inaccurate in terms of how the Iliad plays out, but factually inaccurate in terms of the characters that I had been explaining. So that was when you're telling the story, orally, you can't go back. So, there are moments in Homer where he does seem to, they say that even Homer nods, like that he seems to have forgotten what his train of thought. And he redundantly says stuff, or the same guy gets killed twice, or, different stuff like that happens. Although certainly not as egregiously as I just did. But, I think overall it was pretty good. I'm getting a little better at the kind of like cadence of it and the flow of the rhythm. And I'm excited to keep going with it. We have coming up Pandarus and a lot of this stuff with, McKayan. And after that, everybody would assemble and start fighting. And again, I don't really know what I'm going to do with that, but we'll see what happens. But again, it's not where I would want it to be. Obviously, no one's going to become Homer over the course of 15 days or however many days it's been so far. So just got to keep doing it. All right.